Alrighty, we are back with chapter 27 of Outlier by Lisa Bazan. And we're just gonna get right to it. When Ari awoke, she looked up at the clock on the chest of drawers by her bed and saw that she'd only been asleep for about an hour. Regardless, she hadn't felt this refreshed in a long time. She couldn't help thinking of how fortunate she was to have been able to be a part of the Riley family, no matter how brief it was. They would always be a source of strength for her. She realized that she didn't need trinkets to remind her of who she was. She had her memories, and the lessons her loved ones had taught her to keep her tethered and grounded. She hadn't lost them, and they would always be with her. Bringing her leg around, she sat on the edge of her bed and actually took real stock of her surroundings. Her room was actually pretty cool. The large window let in a lot of natural light, and she could see that the place had potential. It was a decent size, with dark wood floors, a mix of plaster and exposed brick walls, and it had whitewashed beams and rafters for the ceiling. There was a small couch in a little lounge area next to a desk, decked out with brand new super thin laptop. Sitting next to it were the two books she had dropped back at the bookstore, and she felt a stab of guilt. They had gotten for me, oh my gosh, blah, blah, blah. They had gotten those for me even though I was horrible to them. Looking back and forth between the wheelchair and the crutches leaning against the wall by her bed, Ari decided to go with the crutches. I still have one good leg. I might as well use it. She slipped on the lone left slipper shoe that sat forlornly by her bed, and she pulled herself up using the crutches. She realized just how weak she had let herself become, and as if on cue, her stomach let out a loud growl of discontent. She searched for Cam's energy and eventually found him on the other side of the building. Latching on, she made the connection and thought, "Cam, I'm hungry. Can you bring up something to eat, please? Like, a lot of it?" She felt his thrill of happiness, and he thought back, "Yes, ma'am, coming right up." Breaking the connection, she slowly made her way over to the full-length mirror attached to the closet door to take a long, hard look at herself. She wasn't impressed with what she saw. Her hair was disheveled and unwashed, pulled back into a loose, messy ponytail. She looked like a ghost of her former self. Her face was gaunt with dark circles under her eyes, and she had lost some muscle mass. It was so bizarre to see nothing beneath where her right knee should be, especially when it felt like she had just been walking and running around on a mountaintop. They had provided her with clothes, but she hadn't bothered changing out of the plain white t-shirt and long gray shorts she'd been wearing for more days than she should have. Most of her scars were visible. They were hard to look at, but no matter how hard it was, she made herself look at them and accept them. This was what she looked like now, and she had to get used to it. There was no use wishing it would be different, because it wouldn't. The truth was that it had just changed. Like Cam said, life isn't static, things change, and you adapt. These were her battle scars, and as long as she remembered that she had them because she saved the lives of her family, she could look at them with pride instead of remorse. And yes, even after everything, she still considered Cale, Tober, and Reed part of her family. Their lack of character couldn't erase what was branded on her heart. The one good thing about the bullet Cale's rejection had shot into her was that the scar tissue that had grown around it had hardened her. No more shy and awkward Ari, who was uncomfortable in her own skin. This was how she was now. People could take it or leave it. Just like her mismatched socks back in Savannah. The people that care don't matter, and the people that matter don't care. She was not her body's limitations. She was the daughter of a mother whose love transcended death, and of Tess and Phil Riley, who taught her the importance of family and how to love and serve others, and gave her a strong moral compass. She is a sister and a friend to amazing people who love and care about her. And she is a Fluxi. If Ari was strong enough to overcome the seductive and seemingly inexorable urge for infinite power at the expense of others, then she was strong enough to overcome this. That mean chick was right. I was being a pathetic sack of self-pity. And just because Kale is a miserable bastard doesn't mean I have to disregard everything he taught me. That would be stupid. It's like her mom used to say, you can learn something useful from anyone, even if it's only what not to do. Enough of this. It's time to move forward, she thought resolutely. After taking her fill of the new Ari, she made her way over to a tiny bathroom that was to the left of the closet, which was only a pedestal sink, a toilet, and a stand-up shower, and decided to wash her face and her hair in the sink. She'd figure out the mechanics of showering with one leg later. After she had towel dried and combed through her newly cleansed hair, the door to her room burst open, and she peeked out of the bathroom to see Cam pushing a metal cart piled with all kinds of food. There was a stack of various kinds of sandwiches, a full gallon of milk, a tureen of some kind of stew, a bowl of assorted fruit, and half of a rotisserie chicken. Ari smiled at the random array of food he had collected. Leave it to Cam to always come through. He turned to see her leaning on the crutches in the doorway of the bathroom, and she felt the waves of joy and relief flow off of him as a huge smile broke across his face. He put his hands to his heart and pretended his legs were going weak. Ah, that smile kills me. It's so good to see you back, Pipes. Sorry I put you through that, Cam, she said, feeling the need to apologize. With everything you're going through with your dad, I should have been there for you. Are you kidding me? You almost lost your life trying to save mine. I wouldn't even be here to have issues with Miles if it wasn't for you. If anyone earned a well-deserved mental breakdown, it's you. He walked over to her and put his hands on her shoulders, looking intently into her eyes. You had me worried, but I knew that eventually you'd come back to me. No matter what, she promised. No matter what, he promised back. They both had saved each other, and in that moment, a bond was forged that could never be broken. Ari leaned into him and rested her head on his shoulder as tears spilled from her eyes, and he wrapped his arms around her, supporting her. Cam, she started but couldn't finish. She couldn't put into words the magnitude of the gratitude and love she felt for him. It scared her how much Cam meant to her. He stood by her when no one else would. He was her best friend and blood brother in a seemingly unending battle. He had brought her back from the brink of death itself. She chose life because of him. How could she explain his significance to her with mere words? He leaned his head against hers. I know, he whispered, having intuited the gist of her wordless declaration. Ditto. They stayed like that until Ari's stomach let out a long, angry growl, effectively shattering the moment and making them both burst out laughing. Come on, he said, releasing her and walking back to the cart. I ransacked the kitchen and just piled on anything I could find. I didn't know what kind of sandwiches you'd be in the mood for, so Ellie and I just made a bunch of different kinds, he said, shrugging. Nina and Corey always have some sort of soup cooking on the back burner, so I found something to put it in and took the lot. Who are Ellie, Nina, and Corey? Ari asked as she crouched over to sit on the edge of her bed. Her energy was already waning. Nina and Corey are the resident chefs, and Ellie's their daughter, he answered, pushing the cart in front of her. He sat down on the bed beside her. During the afternoon, Nina and Corey work over at the Knock. If they'd been here, this feast would have been much better. What's the Knock? Ari asked around a mouthful of peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I already told you about all this. To be honest, I wasn't really 100% listening. Deep, soul-crushing depression tends to clog the ears a bit, she said, moving on to another sandwich. Fine, he huffed dramatically like he was being put upon. All right, Cliff Notes version. Pyro Joe, whose real name is Zachary Brandt, was working for the suits the whole time. We got these people all wrong. This place is called Scion's Keep, and Reinhold, who is not how I pictured him at all, put it together as a kind of haven for progenies, so they can do what they do without the suits coming after them, or being burnt like witches by the villagers or whatever. Everyone does their part and contributes to the whole. It's kind of community that way, but it works. Reinhold's family is hella rich, like old money rich, But they still have the Nexus Organic Cafe and Healing Center as a place to share their gifts with the world, and it also acts as a sort of incognito meeting place for progenies who want to be a part of Scion's Keep, hence the Nexus part. The address that was on that card Cass gave you was for the Knock. That's where you were supposed to show up, and they would have brought you here. But wouldn't it be called the NOCHC? Yeah, but Knock is easier to say. It might be Notch, N-O-C-H, Notch, but I just feel like Knock sounds better. And it could be Knock, with the way language loves to work. So I'm going to keep saying the Knock. The Notch. Yeah, but Notch is easier to say. I'm going to stick with Knock. I feel like if it's Notch, it should have a T in it, maybe. Whatever. How do they keep the suits from finding such a high concentration of progenies? Ari asked, already finished with the stack of sandwiches and moving on to the chicken. Oh, that's the best part. Reinhold and his sons, Randall and Wyatt, they can make these protective force fields that make it so the suits can't pick up on our energy fields. Kind of like a protective bubble. You can walk right through it, but once you do, your energy bursts are visible again. Randall was the guy you saw at the bookstore with Alvaro and Doc. He runs and protects the Knock, while Reinhold and Wyatt protect Scion's Keep. They rigged everything so that our internet and phone signals can't be picked up either. After chugging about a quarter gallon of milk, she asked, "They keep that up all the time? Sounds exhausting." They naturally generate the fields all the time anyway, but in order to make them big enough to cover everyone, that's where the commune part comes in. This place is full of smart people with awesome abilities. They have a greenhouse and a garden where they grow all kinds of organic superfoods, and when their powers combine, they're able to make superfood shake concoctions that rejuvenate and enhance progeny's energy output efficiency, he said with air quotes and in a commercial voice-over voice. He continued on. Reinhold and Wyatt are always sucking them down. He looked over and saw that most of the food was already gone. Slow down, Pipes. You've barely had anything to eat for more than 2 weeks. You're going to make yourself sick, he said worriedly. I feel fine. Anyway, I don't think my stomach works that way, or it would have burst a long time ago with the amount of food I can put down. I must metabolize food like crazy quick, or I'd be the size of an elephant by now, she said around a mouthful of grapes, and then started eyeing the tureen of beef and vegetable stew. Speaking of how your body works differently, when you were unconscious, the doc drew some of your blood and took a swab of your inner cheek to analyze your cells. He started rubbing the back of his head uneasily. And now they know that you are not even a little bit human, and they're kind of flipping out about it. Ari spit out the spoonful of stew she'd just put in her mouth, which she immediately regretted because it was really good. What? Flipping out in a good way, he assured her. And when I told them about how you were an impossible hybrid, they were super excited about it. Why did you tell them that, Cam? Of course they're excited. Now they have their very own alien to chop up and do experiments on. They're not like that, Ari, he said dismissively. If they were, I would have gotten us out of here a long time ago. They take samples from everyone so they can try to isolate the progeny gene and study how it makes us able to do the things we do. They're also trying to figure out why some families have similar abilities, like Reinhold and his sons, and some don't, like me and Miles. That's what that tree symbol is all about for them. They're just trying to connect to and understand their ancestors. Ari sat there for a minute, eating the stew and mulling over everything Cam had told her. She didn't like the idea of people messing around with her blood and cells. Ari had always been abnormally healthy as a kid, so she'd never had to have her blood drawn before. How different was it from human blood? And how did the fact that she was an impossible Dyson ion hybrid... The fact that she was an impossible Dyson ion mix factor into things? Was she a true hybrid? A sort of chimera of both races? Or was she her very own species? She guessed that was what they were trying to figure out now, too. Cam might trust these people. He didn't just drink the Reinhold Colt Kool-Aid. He dove in head first. But Ari wasn't so sure about them yet. So they all know I'm not human now? Great, as if I wasn't already going to be drawing attention. No, not all. Just the adults and Joshua, but that's only because he works in the lab, he assured her. Oh, that's all, she said sarcastically. They're all going to be cool about it, I swear. Ari eyed him warily. From now on, can you please run things by me first before you tell anyone anything else about me? And I want to keep the fact that I can learn other progeny's abilities just between us, okay? Cam nodded emphatically. Gotcha. Oh, and they kind of know about your telepathic thing, too. I got a little excited when you got your appetite back, and I sort of spilled the beans. Holy crap, Cam. Thank goodness I didn't tell him about being a fluxi. She sighed. I'll forgive you this time, but no more. She pointed her spoon at him warningly, and he crossed his heart with his finger. After polishing off the stew and finishing the gallon of milk, Ari sat back with a contented sigh. Thanks, Cam. That really hit the spot. No problem. Do you think you'd be up for a trip to Reinhold's office? He wanted to see you after you ate. Ari really didn't want to face someone that she knew wasn't human. Ari really didn't want to face someone that knew she wasn't human, but she figured she'd have to deal with it eventually, so she might as well get it over with. Sure. Cam held up his left arm, and she noticed the clear plastic-like cuff on his forearm. It was about the width of his hand, and when he tapped it with his finger, it lit up like a computer display. He touched an icon, then began typing out a short message saying, "We're on our way," and then hit send. What the heck is that? Ari breathed out in amazement. His face lit up. Awesome, huh? He said excitedly. Miles came up with it. He calls it a SKIN. SKIN. It stands for Scions Keep Intercommunication Network. The name needs a little work, but it's so cool. It's a polymer plastic that has properties similar to carbon fiber. It's coated with his own composite of indium tin oxide, which is a transparent conductive material used for touchscreens and organic light-emitting diodes to make this lightweight communication device for Scion Peeps. He stood up and went over to her desk. You have one too, but since you were kind of out of it and not really paying attention to anyone, they didn't bother putting it on you yet. He went over to her desk and picked up a clear, flexible plastic rectangle with a thin metal strip on the bottom that was connected to a charging dock on the desk, and came back to sit beside her on the bed. Here. He motioned for her to hold up her left arm, so she did, and he formed the plastic around her forearm and touched the metal strip on the bottom. It became rigid, like a plastic cuff bracelet. He tapped it, and the menu display came on. Holy crap, that's awesome, Ari exclaimed, her eyes wide with awe. Still good. I know, right? Cam beamed back at her. Then he brought her attention back to the display on her skin. It also acts like a community bulletin board. Anything someone wants everyone to know, they can put it on here, and it shows up on the bottom of everyone's menu display. He pointed to the message that was scrolling across the bottom of the screen. Looks like lasagna for dinner tonight. Sweets. Oh, and if you want to send a personal message or get someone's attention, you can do that too. He touched the icon that looked like a speech bubble. It brought up a list of names. He highlighted his name, and then proceeded to type out on her screen. You are awesome, Cam. Keep up the good work. Which made Ari laugh, and he sent it to himself. And the message popped up on his cuff. And if someone knocks on your door and you want to see who it is, you can do this. He tapped on the icon on her cuff. That was a picture of an eye, and the screen showed a view of the space outside her door. Cool. Not that she would need that option since she could do that naturally, but it was neat done nonetheless. The rest is pretty much self-explanatory, but if you have any questions, just touch the question mark icon and it'll explain everything for you. He double-tapped her cuff and the display disappeared, becoming a clear plastic cuff again. And he did the same to his. You ready to go see Reinhold? He asked. Yeah, but I have to do something first. Follow me. She grabbed her crutches and made her way towards the door. Okay, Cam said, confused, while Ari picked up on the mean girl's energy signature. It was relatively recent, so it was easy to find. Opening the door, she followed the path to a room 2 doors down from hers. She looked through the wall to see her lying on her bed, watching something on her laptop, with her headphones on, and using Ari's pillow as a footrest. Ari tried the doorknob, but it was locked, so she pounded on the door. The girl took off her headphones and put her laptop on her bed, and then checked her cuff. Ari knew she was looking at the feed from the camera outside her door, so she looked right at the camera lens in the wall and gave it her best stink eye. After a couple seconds, the door opened and the girl quickly glanced up at Cam, then back at Ari. Well, if it isn't Stumpy, look who's being all handy-capable now, she said with a snarky smirk. Hey! Cam burst out defensively, but Ari cut him off. It's okay, Cam. It doesn't bother me. She could tell there was no true malice behind it. The girl was just using her meanness as a shield. Well, it bothers me. It bothers me, Cam grumbled and gave the girl a warning glare. Call her Stumpy again, Val, and you'll have me to deal with. Val rolled her eyes. Whatever, loser. Don't make me brown note you. What's that supposed to mean? Ari pushed past Val and grabbed her pillow from the end of the bed and tossed it over to Cam, then turned to go. As she passed by Val, Ari said, By the way, thanks. For what? She snapped belligerently. Ari turned back and said, For being a total bitch and dropping some hard truths on me. Val looked taken aback at first, but then she smirked, and Ari could see some grudging respect behind her eyes. Anytime, Stumpy, anytime. Then she closed the door. And that was the end of chapter 27. Chapter 27. Yep. So we'll end that here. And I think I might be rotating some dogs. Oh, but they look so cute. We'll see. Either way, I'll be back to this shortly. Peace.